Welcome back, everybody. Take a break with Stephen Shamus.
Good to see you, my friend. How's it going today?
Wonderful. Happy end of Hanukkah. We're done. Hanukkah's over.
I know, but, we're coming to the end of the year. Another year of shows. I guess we're closing in on 100. Where the countdown is on. You know, when you start hitting in the 80s, Alex, I think you can start counting down.
Well, now we're getting to we're getting to a point where we were in the 80s. We might as well get to 200, 300, and then we can have an anniversary show.
It's funny. Like when I send the show around to people, they're like, wow, you've done 80 episodes. Like, you know, you start to get to a point where it's like, it's a big number already, right?
It's a big number. And we've maybe repeated 4 books. Maybe
very few repeats. I almost no repeats that I can recall.
Very small amount.
Very small amount. All right, Alex, what do we got this week?
Yeah, we're gonna not repeat again. We're gonna talk a little Battle Chasers. Homage is very close to my heart. These books. We're gonna talk Metal Men, again, another fun character group that we probably never uttered the words Metal Men on the show.
Almost ready. Just need to cue up the old projector.
This is great.
Hey, that's my chair.
Let love movie night.
Sailor Moon, also, the anime takeover is back. It's not over.
Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon.
And then we're going to talk about something brand new, Nocterra by Scott Steiner.
Yeah, we got a nice mixed bag today.
Yeah,
of stuff that we got to go over. Okay, so Alex, what are we going to start with today?
Let's talk with Battle Chasers. Big news, got picked up. Joe Mad, we knew he was a home run hitter to begin with, but Battle Chasers is coming out. We got something.
Yeah,
coming.
I remember the delays on these Battle Chasers.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, I've never seen delays. I think the Battle Chasers was the kind of series that caused Image to say you have to have a few issues in the bank before we solicit your book.
I think it was at one point it was about 4 to 6 months between issues. Which is
I think it was even then it became years, I think, for certain.
Well, number 10 was supposed to come out 2 years ago, so we're still waiting on number 10. Number 10 was supposed to come out in 2018, I believe.
Right.
Still waiting for that one.
It doesn't even matter anymore. Okay, so give us a little background on Battle Chasers, and we heard about it in the media, so there's going to be some media stuff on it, and talk to us a little bit about the storyline and why you think it got picked up.
Battle Chasers is going to be a film. I think it may or not be animated. I don't remember. But I mean, it's the classic like steampunky swords and sorcery mix. Something that really like steampunk is usually, one thing, sword and sorcery is another. This is a good push together. But it's a group of characters coming together and kind of having a Lord of the Rings type adventure, but with steampunk mixed in. So
it is going to be. And by the way, it is going to be a film.
So this is something that is like, I don't want to say it's genre defining, but we haven't seen anything like this in a while. Think about Matrix, where it's like Matrix is your cyberpunk, and you see Lord of the Rings is like your super fantasy. This is going to be a mix of stuff. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So the books have exploded once they announced the film, of course. So 1998 Battle Chasers Prelude. It's about $30 to $40 raw. There's not a lot of pop on this stuff because just from back in the day.
And they've been like you said, they've been kicking around in boxes. I mean, these weren't books that weren't thrown away, but they weren't that worth, nobody pulled them out of collections, put them up on their wall.
Right. And then there's a Joe Madureira, anotheruniverse.com. It's funny. Anotheruniverse.com, people forget, was like the Midtown Comics.
Totally.
In the 1990s.
That was my catalog.
Right. Yeah. And they did a lot of exclusives back then. And it's funny how much we've talked about anotheruniverse.com as these properties are being picked up. Well, there's another universe.com exclusive. Like, imagine had they stuck around.
Chunk, right? Yeah. It's this chunk of 90s, mid to late 90s exclusives. And this is like pre anything other exclusives. They really were the first ones to put the foil stamp on there and do them. And this is a mail away. So unless there's cases sitting in someone's collection somewhere, you know, maybe a Mile High has cases of them when they went under, but where are you going to find them?
Right. So that gold foil book is about a $375 book. Yeah. So that one's a very, very hard book to find. Okay. So now let's get to the regular series. April of 98, Battle Chasers #1, Image Cliffhanger. First appearance of Gully, Red Monica. Red Monica is the big character that Campbell drew. Garrison, Nolan, and Calabretto. It's a Joe Madureira story and a cover and art. There are 66 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $300 book. Then there's a Travis Charest variant cover. It's pretty awesome cover. Travis's work is pretty awesome. 36 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $110 book. Then there's the Joe Mad Chromium edition. There are 106 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 3 Blue Label 9.9s. That's about a $350 book. Then again, there's another universe.com edition. It's called the Pink edition, and it's got Red Monica on the cover. It's a pink cover. There are 55 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $400 book. And then Joe Madureira, another universe.com gold edition, which is also the pink with Red Monica, just has gold foil on it. There's 35 9.8s, and that's $500. The second print is only a pop 1, but it's a $5 to $10 book raw. So as you've seen, these books were not this expensive a month or two ago. They were a half or a third of that price.
They were always a $10, $15 book.
Yeah.
But
not these kind of prices. Okay. All right. What do we got next, Alex?
The Metal Men.
Right. Another media property that got announced this week. So talk to us a little about the Metal Men. It's an older title from the 60s.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now they have not announced which iteration is going to be the media. So talk a little bit about what's coming out on the Metal Men and some of these 60s and then the 90s version. I don't know if there's which iteration or what the difference is yet. They haven't really announced.
I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, the original Metal Men, like you said, were created in the 60s. It was literally like someone was like, hey, we need a story really quick. Please give us something. And they gave us the Metal Men. Will Magnus is a scientist, which a scientist creating a super team was pretty big in the late 60s. Created a group of robots that were made of metal and could take the kind of like aspects of it. So there's gold, iron, lead, mercury, tin, and platinum. You know, these are characters from DC that's just been around for a very long time. They're at some point they could all like morph together and form a giant Metal Man. So hopefully we'll see that because that's really neat. But that's like a Voltron.
Voltron, right.
But these I could morph together to form an ultra.
It's like the Power Rangers too, a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit like Power Rangers. Yeah, I think that's probably where they stole it. But it's a cool concept. I like the Metal Man. I'm a fan. For the Wednesday comic Metal Man series was some of my favorite stuff. Just a cool an easy IP that is not. There's nothing like it because they're robots. You know, it's very easy.
Got it. Okay, so showcase number 37, March, April of 1962. Same year as Spider-Man, right? There's 1 9.4 Blue Label, there's 5 9.2 Blue Labels, and there's 10 9.0 Blue Labels. So even above 9.0, they're very, very hard to find. A 7.5 recently sold for $1,200, a 6.5 sold for $1,100. So you could try to find a clean off-white copy, maybe clean spine, not a lot of dings in it, you know, in the $1,000 to $1,200 range. First appearance to the Metal Man and Dr. Will Magnus. Ross Andrew cover and art. Then you have Metal Man #1, which followed up in April, May of 63, about a year later. Believe it or not, there's 198. There are 9 9.6s. There are 10 9.4s, and there are 11 9.2s. And 16 9.0. So even in those grades, very tough. I wonder what the 9.8.
It's a hard book to find in nice shape.
Oh boy. Yeah, $2,500 in 9.2. $625 in 8.0. So you can still get a decent copy in those kind of price ranges. So that's something to look for. And again, I think these are going to be found in boxes, especially the next one, Metal Man #1 from 1993. There are 3 very low pop books. $6 to $10 raw. It's 3 9.8s, 6 9.6s, and 1 9.4. Foil cover, like a lot of covers from the 90s. Mike Carlin's story, Dan Jurgens with Brett Breeding cover and art. Dan Jurgens and Brett Breeding sort of epitomized DC books from the 90s with all the Superman stuff. They did a lot of stuff together, Dan and Brett.
Yeah, that's very interesting because that is a cardstock cover. So that is a very, very small pop in 9/8. There's got to be people
just weren't sending them in.
They're just not sending them in. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. It's now time for Alex's pick of the week. What do you got, Alex?
It's Christmas time in Queens, not Hollis. I'm not in Hollis, Queens. I'm in regular Queens. But it made me nostalgia when we were putting out stuff, and I was talking with my partner about like, oh, what did you guys have? Blah, blah, blah. And for some reason, it reminded me of snow cone machines. Did you guys have a snow cone machine growing up, where you put ice cubes in it and you would?
I know what it is. I don't recall her. By the way, why are you still calling her your partner? She's your wife now.
She's my wife. Yes, my wife partner. Yes, correct.
Well, before it's
been 10 years. It has been 10 years. So I got to get the vernacular back in. But we had a Snoopy snow cone machine. I feel like we had one.
Snoopy, right.
I think we got one like once every 5 years. But like growing up, like that was the thing. And then I was like, oh, I remember in holidays we had the snow cone machine. So I started looking them up. They made snow cone machines for every kind of like property, Garfield and Looney Tunes. And then they just stopped. I haven't seen a snow cone maker in years. Like they just stopped making
those. Are like poor. That drink was like pour sugar, right? That was
right. Yeah. You put an ice cube in, you grind it up, and you just pour liquid sugar on.
Right, liquid sugar. Right. Okay. It's like cotton
candy, blue liquid sugar or a red liquid sugar.
Right. It's basically like cotton candy.
Yeah. And it's just funny to me.
That stuff preceded like all the days of healthy eating and everything. Let's create this liquid sugar, just pour it right in some ice, and
it's terrible. But it's just weird that like these are obviously it's a nostalgia factor and they're worth something. You can get them for like $30-$40 in box and stuff. But just like everybody was like, the snow cone maker was like, we're gonna license everything. We're gonna make like Snoopy and Garfield and Looney Tunes. And now I don't know if the snow cone company is at it. No, I'm not gonna buy one. Okay. I'm not gonna buy one. Right. I very rarely am gonna be like, man, I crave a snow cone.
Probably did own one of those at one point. I
feel like everybody that was growing up in the 80s had a snow cone maker at some point.
Listen, I know exactly when you said I knew exactly what you're talking about, so I must have had one at some point.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. What do we got at next, Alex?
Talk about Sailor Moon, some more crossover.
Again, we're seeing this every week. We talk about this almost once a week.
Yeah.
Of nostalgia properties from the 80s and 90s, and where these books were definitely printed in high quality and high quantity.
Yes.
But then it was like the Pokemon cards, right? They printed a zillion of them, but then everyone threw them out because they were worthless, and now all of a sudden they're hot again. You know how many Simpsons comics I threw out, and they're like hundreds of dollars now? I'm like,
I'm sure
they were like $2. They were like $2 forever
in the bag. Yeah, in the poly bag.
So talk a little bit about the character Sailor Moon from the 90s, and I guess it's just another nostalgia play, right? There's nothing else particularly coming out on it, right?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing now is a lot of the anime resurgence. There's a huge anime resurgence in America with manga and TV shows. You can see it at shows. I mean, some of the most popular tables where the people that were doing anime art on the most popular anime characters. And this is like Sailor Moon is like the number one of the original anime imports that like blew up here in America. It's about a girl who gets magical powers. She can turn to Sailor Moon. She fights crime. There's the Sailor Scouts that also help her, also fighting crime. The manga went on forever. The TV show went on for a very long time. They imported here in America. Very popular for kids, females. I mean, this was a female-driven anime by a female artist and writer in the 90s, which in the early 90s, which there was not a lot of that at all. And they've done more movies, they've done more cartoon shows, but this is one of those things like you can walk down the street and most people know who Sailor Moon is. That is it.
It's fun. It's funny that you say that I don't think I've ever watched an episode ever, but you say
Sure.
Sailor Moon and people do know the property.
People know
and
the
they know what
property.
the character looks like. A lot of it is the cosplay, I think, also, by the way.
Totally, yeah. It's a very popular cosplay and cross cosplay. So it'll be like Sailor Moon with Ronald McDonald. You get like a Ronald McDonald Sailor Moon, and you'll get like a Scooby-Doo Sailor Moon.
Right.
They
Okay.
like to mash them up.
Interesting. Okay. Sailor Moon #1, 1998 from Mix Entertainment and Ayako Taikachi, story, cover, and art. There are 21 9.8s, 13 9.6s. That's about $1,000 book plus today. The book is skyrocketing. Yeah, wait to hear the next one. Then there's the Naoko Takuchi San Diego Comic-Con Convention Edition.
Yes.
It's got a pink silver foil moon on it.
Yep.
It's just a big picture of a moon.
Just the logo. Yep.
4 9.8s, 9 9.6s. It's almost a $6,000 book, Alex. 400 to 500 raw.
Yeah,
The second print is right. But this book exploded out of nowhere.
Totally.
Then the second print, Zero Pop, is a $75 to $200 raw book. I think you could probably find these in box. I would bet you that there are probably dealers who have these in their boxes and don't even realize that they're in.
Yep. This is
I
one
don't
of those
think they'll have the
books.
San Diego one, but they'll have the other one.
I think this is something that it's the Cowboy Bebop we talked about a couple weeks ago. It's like it's been around. People have seen it a million times. They're not hard to find. But do you have any copies? Do you have any copies that are 9.8? Probably not.
Right. All right. What are we closing out with tonight, Alex?
Yeah, this is a newer one. It's a newer series. Nocterra, Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel.
Yeah, this book has a few variants.
Yes, lots of
that
variants
are selling for a lot of money. First of all, we're not going to go into all the store variants.
Yeah,
because there's probably I'm not kidding. There's probably 50 or 60 versions.
A lot of books. Yes,
and I try to pick out the ones that are expensive. But these books are starting to see some pretty interesting price increases. Talk a little bit about Nocterra. Is it getting picked up? Is it supposed to be picked up? Do people think it's going to get picked up, or is it just? Tell us about the story a little bit, Alex.
It definitely got picked up, and this is why it's gone high, because I remember this book is not old by any means. It's maybe a year, just a little bit above a year old. When this book came out, there was, like you said, there's just a ton of covers. You could walk into a store and buy a Nocterra #1 for probably about the first couple months. I know my local probably had at least a glow in the dark cover for a while. It's a kind of like after the world is, been destroyed. The world is just nighttime at all times. Think of what was that movie with Vin Diesel? Dark.
Where
you can see in the dark, kind of like that.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
So
keep going.
So it's kind of like that. The world's in darkness. There is no light, and there's one person that is a skilled person that can take you from where you are to a kind of like a sanctuary where there is artificial light. The light scares away the monsters. So if you're in the dark, you're trying to fight away these monsters that are eating you and killing you.
Right. So it wasn't Last Witch Hunter. It wasn't Bloodshot, right? Was it?
No.
Riddick.
It's the Riddicks. It's that feel. So this is a female Riddick that can take you to safe zones.
Yeah, I mean, remember 30 Days of Night also had a kind of
Totally.
a little bit of a similar feel. Okay, so Nocterra #1, Tony Daniel cover A. There are 249 Blue Label 9.8s.
Wow.
That's about $140 book. Jock is the cover B artist, 145 Blue Label 9.8s. That's only about a $50 book. That one is not one of the bigger ones. There's the Boss Logic cover C, 81 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $70 book. Greg Capullo cover D, 58 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $75 to $100 book. Then there's the blank cover E. There's only 4 Blue Label 9.8s. That's an $8 to $10 book raw because those are used for the sketches.
Yep.
Then there's the glow in the dark cover F, 208 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $100 book. Then there's a Francis Manipul cover G, which is the 1 in 10 variant. There's 132 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $75 book. Then there's the Jorge Jimenez cover H, 1 in 25 cover variant. I know. 88 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $115 book. Then there's the Ariella Cristantina cover 1 in 50 variant. There are 42 Blue Label 9/8. That's about an $80 to $100 book. Then you get into some of the tougher variants.
Yep.
Jock black and white cover J 1 in 75 variant. There's only 40 Blue Label 9/8. That's about a $300 book. Then there's a Tony Daniel black and white cover K. That's 1 in 100. There are 33 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about a $15 to $20 book raw. So that probably would also be in the $300 range. Then there's the Greg Capullo black and white cover L 1 in 150 variant. There's only 18 Blue Label 9/8. That's a $70 raw book. I would expect that if one of those came to market, probably be in the $500+ range. Then there's the blackout cover M, which is completely black, which is good if you want to sketch in the white paint. That's a 1 in 200 cover variant. There's 21 Blue Label 9.8s. That's about $175 raw. We're not going to go through all the store variants because there's too many.
So many store variants.
So many. Yeah. And then there's a second print Tony Daniel. I call it the white cover because it's a white background. There's 47 Blue Label 9.8s, and that's about an $80 book.
Jeez,
so that's a
crazy
series to take a look at. Now that there's going to be a property on it, these are not crazy prices for it. And I think you'll be able to find these in the dealer boxes, $3, $4, $5 raw books. I bet
that's a lot of covers. I would definitely try to find A's as soon as possible. Regular A covers.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the field. We hope you enjoyed watching today, and we will see everybody next week. Same bat time.
Same bat channel. Thanks, guys.